Absolutely. I swear to you, I was watching and I saw the little clip that Jason Perillo put out of Micheal Bisping walking into Ruka, and there's Luke Rockhold, and they meet up and stuff like that. And I was just thinking back to that show, that fight, because obviously they had fought once before and Luke had won, and then Michael gets that fight, last I guess 2 weeks time basically. And the opening fight of that night, Josh, was Polo Reyes against I want to say Dong Young Kim or something like that. But what a fight it was. It was unbelievable. It was so good. And then in that show, there was a couple of other fights that were really good. And especially I did the one with Max Holloway fought Ricardo Lamas. And in the last 10 seconds of it, he points to the middle, does his crazy Max Holloway stuff, and they just started swinging. And then the big fight at the end, I always look and say, you could have the greatest card all the way through. And if your main event sucks, it kind of brings everything else down. Yeah. But man, you could have a bad card and the main event's great. People go, okay, it was good. But when you have one that just almost every fight is just fireworks and fun to watch, and that night it was, and when Micheal Bisping knocked him out in the first round, which nobody expected really, and just an incredible card. And so when you're talking about the pressure of that opening fight, I just in watching Michael and Luke together, and I was thinking about that card and that very first fight, I'll never forget. I remember Polo Reyes, Mike Beltran was the referee, and he walked out of that cage like, oh my God, that was the greatest fight. And it was so good. People got to go back and watch that fight.
You brought up that video, and it's funny. I was actually watching it earlier today as well. This is what I feel is great about our sport of MMA. Fighters are accessible. The athletes are accessible. People that work within the promotions are accessible. Things like this, it's great to see. I was so happy to see. I had never seen them in a room together outside of like fight time. I had never, even at Ruka, I had never seen them like, in videos together or even in person together. But it was good to see. It was great to see that they can coexist. And I liked how Bisping was kind of poking fun at him about his dog liking him more than him, than his dog liking Luke. I thought it was great. But this is what's great about our sport. And it's funny because I want to touch again on is that Yves and I had filmed a thing talking about our fight, doing a talk over about the time when he beat me. And then he reached out to me this morning and he's like, hey, the file got corrupted. Is it possible if we could redo it? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, yeah, it sucked. But, it is what it is. But like, hey, and I told him, I just sent him out. I said, hey, anything for you, brother. Like, it doesn't, like, things like this, I want people to remember that at the end of the day, in 10 years, when you're done fighting or after that, no one's going to care. Nobody's going to care. Like, they're not going to care about you. They're not going to care about the fighter that you fought. They're not going to care. Sure, they'll reminisce casually at some bar with their buddies, and that's it. But that's it. Like, no one's going to care. The fact is that if you can still try to muster up the way to be like nice to somebody else. And to me, that's important. Like being nice to somebody else in times like what we're going through right now with everything worldwide, I think it's good. And for me to see that, like, to me, honestly, I was like, the rest of my day was a better day because of seeing Bisping and Luke kind of joke around and laugh around at Ruka. I thought it was a great thing.
It just shows the respect that's there. Anytime you share that cage with somebody, you've got to respect the fact that that person is in that cage, standing across from you, trying to do to you what you're trying to do to them. But there's a respect factor when that person steps up and shows you what they have and comes after you. If you don't have respect for him at that point, you're not being smart. And this both Bisping and Rockhold, incredible fighters. And I'll give it, Micheal Bisping, he did so much with, really, when you look and you say, he's a good athlete, but he's not Luke Rockhold. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And this is where, it's not always the guy that is the more skilled fighter, the better fighter overall, the technical guy. He doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the guy that's just the junkyard dog that doesn't give up and just has heart and keeps coming forward. And that was Micheal Bisping in the fight. Because I'm going to straight out, Luke Rockhold was one of the most skilled fighters you could find. People have no idea how good he is.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, his chin is been a problem, you know, when he got knocked out, but he was so cocky about that fight. You know, when I went in the back with him, I actually brought commissioners from the California State Athletic Commission. They walked out and they said, "Is he always like that?" Because he was just cocky, didn't care, was saying, "Yeah, John, yeah." You know, because he knew he was going to win. And sometimes that's, you know, the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
But Luke Rockhold was unbelievably talented.
Well, you know, when they talk about it's harder to keep the title than it is to win the title, it's absolutely true. Because there's something about fighters. I don't even know fighters. I think it's something about anyone, whether you're on a team, whether you're not on a team, whether you're an individual sport athlete or not. When you become the champion, it's harder to keep it and maintain it because you feel like the work is already done. That's why people like GSP, that's why other fighters like, you know, Patricio Pitbull, Max Holloway, any of those athletes that have, John Jones, I mean, that have had and been able to retain the title for so long. And I know I get a lot of heat because people would say I never give Stipe any credit. Stipe, being the guy, okay, the heavyweight. He's the guy that's held the title the longest in the heavyweight division ever in the UFC. I tip my hat to that guy. You know, all of them, all these guys to continue to win time after time again and get motivated to fight the number one contender. That person is always motivated that you're fighting because they know this is my chance for my opportunity to become world champion. You're already there. What's motivating you? Really nothing. That person in front of you, and that's it. That's why I continuously talk about guys like GSP and Max and Patricio and Douglas Lima and all the other and Stipe, you know, and John Jones to do it for so damn long. It's absolutely amazing. Fabulous. I mean, it's crazy to think. And it's hard. With Luke, it was as soon as he got there, like I had never seen someone, I don't want to say not seen someone work that hard, but he did things after the fact when he was on his rise to get to Chris Weidman. I remember we got done with a hard 2-hour-long wrestling program, you know, on Tuesday. And I see him out in the street after we got done doing the whole workout, everything like that. And he's running sprints out in the street from phone post to phone post, like a light post to whatever it is, light post. And he's running them. And I'm like, how many you running? He's like 20. I'm like, you know what I mean? And they're only probably about 100 yards. You know, but to do it after 2 hours long of working out, and he wasn't going soft. Everything was 100% hard. And you saw that, you know, in that fight. I want to remind people when he fought Weidman, he had gout in his foot. They got diagnosed that week and he was on antibiotics. That's why he looked like he was so out of shape when he wasn't out of shape. He was ready to go. If you go back and watch some of his fights when he fought Jacare and Strikeforce and all those guys, man, he had some great fights. And fights that people thought Jacare is going to smash him. No, it was a great fight. It was back and forth. I mean, Luke got dropped, I want to say once, almost got dropped twice, you know, in that fight, and he came back and won the fight. It was a great fight. You know, but but it's hard to keep the title. It's hard to keep that motivation. And we saw that with Luke in that fight right there, right off the bat. And it's also hard to beat someone that you've already beaten. Like the motivation's got to be there.
Especially if they're a good fighter.
Yep. And when you said about Bisping being not the most talented guy, but one of the most hardest working guys, and just that junkyard dog reminds me of John Fitch. I mean, I speak from John Fitch is not the most talented guy. Guy can barely touch his toes. Like when he bends down, like he can barely reach over and touch his toes. He's not flexible at all. He's a hard worker. You know, he just grinded and grinded. That's how he got through his career, was he grinding people down to nothing. And I feel like Bisping is that type of guy as well. He had a different way of doing it. And it's amazing. To go back to the original conversation, it's great to see that the sport does this. These two guys train in the same gym underneath the same roof, just, you know, joking, laughing around. That's what this is about, man. This is great for humanity, good for the sport. It's let everybody know that it's a fight, sure, but in real life, it's not a fight. It's just, you know, us getting through. I love it.
It's a day, man. You know, whoever comes out the best on that day, congratulations. Best to you.